When I was a kid, I was always good technically. I could explain to my parents on and on about how I assembled those Legos, or how I solved that problem in that video game, and especially how doing well in math should reward me with a video game. And up until high school, I never really found out how socially awkward I really was. It didn't really dawn upon me till I'd start, I'd be interested in girls, and I'd be like, hey. Didn't really go anywhere. And then I'd try to crack jokes with friends, and I'd end up just sitting there, rather silent. What didn't happen for me during those years was a developed style of communicating and a way for me to really present myself. And it wasn't until I graduated high school and ended up doing sales for an organization called Vector Marketing. I'd gotten a letter in the mail, and this letter in the mail had said, do appointments and get paid. If it was any more vague, it would have been an evaluation for my employment performance. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to find a job. I need to make some money for college, and I'll just find a way to do it. But after a month, it just didn't really work out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. So I called them, and I interviewed, and I placed the position as a salesman. And my first few appointments, man, I just thought to myself, I'm not a salesman. As I held my big black bag of knives, going to people's houses, I'd drop my glasses and stumble and twitch my eyes as I'd ring the doorbell. And it's sort of, if I didn't just read from the sales manual straight on, I'd figure if I looked them straight in the eye, they might leave their own house. So over time, I had developed kind of a mentorship with my sales manager, and she helped guide me through different processes for me to really develop my presentation, make it my own, so that I could convince more customers to convert into sales. And this is what I'm going to share with you guys today. This is my heroic checklist that helped transform me from a stumbling, socially awkward kid to the highest ranked person in that sales organization, a field sales manager, which less than 1% of all sales reps get to. So first, we have H. It's an acronym, so we'll spell it out. Heroic. So H, your humility and honesty. There was a sales rep in our office who I'd compete with, and over time, I'd try to beat him, but he'd always end up winning. $100 here, $200 the next week. He'd always be just a little bit farther ahead. And the winner of that week would go on to the office and speak about their triumphs and how they achieved them. What we didn't know then was at the end of summer, our manager got a phone call that said, from his parents saying, hey, we have boxes of knives in our home. What's going on here? And when they did the research, it turned out that he had pretty much used his mom's line of credit to purchase and win in the office. That led to a very hostile environment, because if the person who was the most credible person in the office ended up not telling the truth, not being honest, not being humble, we had a high turnover as a result, because there was no true leadership as a result. So working with my manager, we instilled that it's really more about the humility and really more about the honesty within the office, so that we could retain and develop more of our talent. E. E for the second letter in heroic. Empathy and enthusiasm. So enthusiasm, when I first started, I like I said, I was reading straight from the manual, and I really wasn't getting anywhere. It wasn't until I ended up going to the office at 7 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, and making the phone calls with my manager, who really mentored me to develop that enthusiasm, raise my tonality, and really spark their interest. This is the morning. These people are trying to wake up, not stay asleep. So I'd have to wake myself up as well. So R, for relatability. In his book, Oren Clough, an investor who makes $2 million per week investments for his Fortune 500 companies, like Hilton, Marriott, and similar Fortune 500 companies, he talks about being relatable. It's not just about telling the details of the product, it's about getting to the crocodile brain we all have, getting to those emotions, because if we don't get to them, we just won't be heard. So making that impact comes from the more emotional level. And this came for me in sales when I would talk about my personal goals and how that would relate to how each sale would help take me further. O, openness and your general openness. By being open with your customers and being open with your audience, you're sharing your vulnerabilities, and this takes you to that next level. I, your innovation. And in his book, From Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about the company Kimberly-Clark, who had to sell their paper mills business, the majority of their business from 100 years, to make room for their consumer-based businesses that were doing much better, like Kleenex. And by doing that, over the next 25 years, they beat the market by 4 times. And C, customer focus. By focusing on your customer, you're going to develop much better rapport and develop much better clarity for who you're talking to. And this really helped me out because instead of focusing on the technical details, like I had always done from a kid, I would focus on what the customer really wanted, share the stories that would help our customer and what helped previous customers and their stories. And so those are the heroic keys to getting your audience to be convinced, to react and engage with your material. H, humble and honest. E, enthusiastic. R, relatable. O, open. I, innovative. And C, customer focused.